Watcher, go ahead and play. Oh, it's anyway. We had.
This business will get out of control. It'll get out of control, and we'll be lucky to live through it.
It's not playing. I don't know what's going on.
Anyway, guys, welcome to the show today. Episode 5. Poof goes the economy and the Bangladesh. Talking about the unexpected economic apocalypse that we all, the Japanese and Asia lived through it over the night, and we're gonna dig into that a little bit, and then of course Bangladesh also decided to completely conduct a unscheduled rapid disassembly of their government overnight as well. So the prime minister is now in India, and it is it is another day. It is another day of paradise in Bangladesh, of course. But as always, I've got a great panel here today to go over this stuff. Stan, how's it hanging?
Well, it's interesting to watch the impact of, I think, some overreaction as it relates to the jobs report on Friday and the ISM services report earlier in the week. And so I think this is overdone a little, much like 87 was overdone. We didn't go into a recession after that day when we sold off as well. What kicked this off was a lot of yen carry trades, and that's a technical term. I'll spend a minute on that. But a lot of yen carry trades got unwound as interest rates began to moderate, and now I will tell you this though: the good news is that our inverted yield curve is gone today. So the two year is below the 10-year. So we're back to more normal yield curve, which now they're trying to tell me is an indication of recession. It never has been, but that's what they're saying now. So I think Wall Street has just decided to throw a tantrum and is going to try to pummel the Fed into an interim meeting and an emergency rate cut. They've been. If I took you back a year ago, we had 6 rate cuts planned, priced into the marketplace. We've had none. And I think people are getting nervous about the election and one thing and another, and they're trying to force the Fed's hand. So the yen carry trade is when you sell yen, you go short the value of the yen in Japan. For that, you get cash. And then you use that cash to make, and you usually lever it to make investments in higher interest rate differential items like U.S. Treasuries, and then when that goes against you, you have to buy yen and unwind that trade, and that's what's been going on. So that started it, but there's other sort of illness within the economy. Nvidia is not worth what Nvidia was worth, et cetera, et cetera. And all these excesses are tending to be washed out as we speak. No, Ron, I'm not our Kramer.
So we're probably going to see a little more volatility throughout the week, but you think that this might be something that would be a little bit of a bounce back from?
Considering that the VIX hit 65 this morning, which is a territory it's never been in, yeah, I think we're going to see some volatility.
Never, right?
So just I think the thing that's most concerning to me, I think the thing that's most concerning to me is the fact that, I don't know, 10 or 12, 15 of the largest retail trading platforms, Fidelity, and I don't know where they are now because I haven't looked in the last 15 or 20 minutes, but Fidelity and Ameritrade and E-Trade. And now, and Ameritrade and E-Trade is I think a Morgan Stanley subsidiary. So Morgan Stanley took down E-Trade, or it went down. That's concerning. So if you're stuck and you can't get out of what you're holding, that's financial repression of a different type. So we'll see what happens. If you own gold, it's not an issue. So, guys, you're muted.
Uh, so yes, you bring all that wonderful, grim news to us, but at the same time, I think, it's not the end of the world. Literally, it's just, the end of the current run of luck we've had with the stock market. Hopefully, we bounce back off of it.
It's one of the horsemen, and maybe it's a Shetland pony, but it's headed in that direction.
So if you want to understand what Stan's talking about, look at
look at
MUFG, Mitsubishi
Financial.
Yeah, take a look at what happened to them if you want to understand yen carry and some of the risk involved in what Stan was discussing. So what you have is a peaking assessment of risk in mostly Asia, Middle East, and economies that are running amok in Europe and the United States with spending money on things like Ukraine. And it's just gotten way, way out of hand. So I think what really kindled all this is just a complete and utter lack of trust in the people who run the governments and run the currencies and run our government every day.
Oddly reminiscent of 2008.
It's really reminiscent of both, but the VIX is it's screaming 87 to me, and the amount of media effort in the last 6 months about how bad Donald Trump is and how wonderful the most incompetent people on the planet are has really violated the trust factor in the public markets. So people have no trust for these people in Washington, and I think it's similar in the EU. So what we're seeing is oh shit, I'm just going to be really careful today. That kind of.
I don't know why people are surprised that we gave Kamala something and she blew it.
Literally. Joe, how are you doing today? We had a great weekend, I think. A successful event. And
we had
people who couldn't have been there.
Yeah, we had a really great weekend. And what's really awesome is getting together with folks in real life and actually meeting them. I believe that even our friend Hunter Cunning was walking around here a little bit earlier this morning. So we met all kinds of people. I think that when we do these events, people should have to wear a sticker that says, "My Twitter screen name is,"
right.
So you can kind of tell who everybody is. But look for some exciting collaborations, maybe with folks like Exumbris Designs. I mean, we had quite a conversation with him and a few others who were out here. We just had a great weekend getting to know folks and doing a couple live shows and having a lot of fun with the guys at Shield Arms and some of the others.
Speaking of somebody who was here this weekend, Hunch the Dirty Roofer for $10 over on YouTube says, let's give a big shout out to Joe for all our work you put in to make it happen, almost single-handedly. Thanks, man.
Well, I don't know that single-handedly is really the way to go, but I was probably the busiest guy out here, but that's okay because I wanted to make it good for everyone who came, right? Making sure that everyone enjoyed it. The event wasn't for me, it was for everybody else. So we had a great time out here. Stan put in an appearance. The boys from Shield were out here all weekend. It was really a good thing and a good first effort. We're going to continue to build things here, do a lot more training here. I really want to thank Pastor Joe Fox for coming out and giving really an inspiring speech on Friday night and kicking the event off with the right tone of how we can prepare and be ready for what's coming. And you know what? Yesterday I did a little church service out here that one of the guys said, of all the things that we recorded this weekend, it's probably the one we should have recorded and we didn't. But I'm actually grateful because I do have to go back to Michigan for a few weeks, and my speech might have been a little fiery yesterday morning. So anyway, we had a great time. And for the comment, Pinochet, when you said, is Maxine Waters out there with a ghillie suit scoping you out? She's actually not, because she said that those right-wing people are out in the hills training. We are most definitely in the mountain, the hills. So,
one other thing, just kind of getting back to Hunch's thing. Joe, I really want to identify Joe as like the number one main effort behind the, just the on the ground success, kind of that key NCO. But there were so many other people who came as guests or they came as attendees, and they were like, "How can I help?" And and it was not just like asking people to help, and they helped. It was like they saw something and they just did it themselves. One guy specifically, I don't know if he wants us to name him by name, but
I'll just say that I thought it was amazing that we got Ming the Merciless from Escape from New York to show up and help us out. It was crazy.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So if you know who you are, you know who you are. But honestly, though, the folks at Shield Arms were the backbone of this. I mean, they had a fantastic food truck out here with some of the best breakfast burritos I've ever had. And their staff were out here working behind the scenes, not necessarily as public as I was out front, but they worked just as hard. So it was really a great event. Look forward to more here.
And the employees did a great job of supporting through attendance, and they could have very easily just kind of come in for the show the flag thing and left. But, even yesterday we had, Shield folks here that were, and, came up to us and said thank you for the event and everything. So it was awesome. They were a great partner, and I look forward to working with them in the future. Who knows? Maybe we'll be doing some other things with Shield in the near future.
Well, and before we broach that, let me just say, if you are looking for a new AR platform, may I suggest the only folding one?
Yeah, and or some improvements to your Glock 43. They are really the Glock 43 headquarters. So.
Yeah, absolutely, some great stuff.
And I think we're doing some stuff with Shield literally this afternoon. So
now, Jim, welcome to the show. Glad you could be here. Days like today. Your insight is always critical. Did you have Bangladesh imploding on your bingo card this week?
Yes.
He actually did.
Okay, hold
Yeah,
on.
he did. I can verify that. I can verify that he actually did.
So,
Matter of fact,
so
I think
Bangladesh,
there was a causative aspect of that, as far as I know. So.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I figured the answer was yes. That's why I asked you that.
So no, Bangladesh gets. I mean, people have worried about Bangladesh forever.
What color was this revolution? No, sorry.
Well, let's just say it wasn't green. And the difficulty is she'd been in office a long time. And what happens when you have countries like Bangladesh? Stan's worked there before.
Yes.
Not unlike the Philippines, not unlike other places. When you're in power too long, you have a consolidation of the impact of cronies controlling everything.
I think the best example of that was Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Nazarbayev ran that place from 1991 to whenever.
And when it goes, it doesn't go nicely.
22.
But there are a lot of really good people lined up to try to help. And they do have a decent party structure, but they've had a really hard time with. Oh, sorry. They've had a really hard time with negotiation.
Unstable internet. No, it was just telling me my internet connection was unstable, so it's probably us. But go, Jim.
Okay, soliloquy time. So yeah, they've got a lot of good people lined up to help. What really just destroyed her capacity to stay in power was China had promised them $2 billion a year or so ago. She finally had to go to Beijing, and she came home with 100 million, which meant that everybody who was supposed to get their stay with me payments didn't get their stay with me payments, and it went to hell. Classic aging out. But my experience with the Bangladesh people has been really good, and Greater Bengal really good. So a lot going on there. The people who are really concerned are the Indians, but they're concerned for the right reasons, which is China has
dot or feather. Which type?
Both, all of them. Anybody in the tribals, anybody in Assam, anybody up in Bhutan, Nepal has to be concerned about this, and thus the United States should be concerned about this. We've got a new ambassador there who's pretty bright, but cross your fingers, because there are a lot of good people, a lot of Bangladeshis in New York, a lot of them here in the United States, a lot of them in London, and they've been a really good kind of community. So keep it in mind.
Excellent. We'll definitely get into that more later in the show, but good perspective. Thank you. All right, gents, without belaboring anything, let's jump right into the odds and ends, shall we? Let's see. Our first one is literally, I used the exact same odds and ends title that we had on Friday's show. The UK goes ballistic, and then this is part 2, of course. So anti-immigration protests in the UK spreads as Elon Musk warns civil war is inevitable. You can't go a couple days without having somebody talk about civil war. And when Elon does it, more people see it than most. European countries on the front lines, such as Greece and Italy, have been over. Yeah, I hate that. Just couldn't avoid it. Please do.
I tried. And then it fell down. Okay.
There we go. Sorry, guys. Well, watch your screens bouncing around here. Let's see. Migrants due to failed open border policy facilitated by radical leftist politicians. And these unaccountable leaders, elected and unelected, have created the perfect storm of migrant crime. And then so you had a killing of just numerous people across Europe, but specifically we saw a killing last week of some children in England. So for those who are not caught up, anti-immigration demonstrations have erupted across the UK following the horrific stabbing of 3 children in Southport by a 17-year-old Rwandan immigrant.
That's actually an inaccurate story. There were a total of like 14 children stabbed,
but 3 died.
Were killed.
Yeah, right. New weekend anti-immigration demonstrations were seen in Liverpool, Bristol, Manchester, Hull, Belfast, Stoke, and other cities. Some turned violent while others did not. Citizens are enraged with progressive officials who have promoted open borders, leading to an influx of migrants. This has resulted in the increased crime and chaos and has adversely affected working class families, but by pushing down wages for low-skilled jobs. The Guardian quoted protesters on Saturday chanting, "Get them out," in Yorkshire. In the South, it would be weird if they were yelling Yorkshire in London.
That's what I was going to say.
In southwest city of Bristol, folks shouted, "We want our country back," while others yelled, "England till I die." Wow. There's nothing controversial about any of this stuff. The problem is
Not at all.
it's only in this kind of progressive context that this becomes like hateful and racist.
You know, I spoke about this yesterday morning when I said that as men, and specifically as Christian men, you have a duty and an obligation to protect the children. And when your entire system of government is doing everything it can to harm the children, from bringing in folks who don't respect them, to running drag queen story hours and pushing trans education and things like that in schools at a very young age, and trying to get children to make life-altering decisions before the age of 6, you do have a responsibility to do something. The problem I have with this is that while there were protests in the street and people calling for this, counter-protests rapidly emerged, which were far more violent and deadly, but only the original protesters are being arrested and held accountable. The armed men setting fire to things and stabbing people are not. And that is only going to make the problem 10 times worse.
Yeah.
I just want to say real quick that a wild Blaine has been spotted in chat. And hey, Blaine, you got the link?
Welcome. We're on Heads and Cavalier. Yeah, you know, it's going back to the English Civil War. It's, you know, the interesting thing here is that the English, this has occurred in England very quickly because they're doing at a kind of much higher rate of, you know, bringing in illegals who are not ready to live in English society. They're doing the same thing we're doing, but when we have 300 million people, it takes longer to reach that critical mass. It just hasn't happened yet in the state, but we're seeing that critical mass get reached in the UK, and I don't know where it goes from here. Guys, Stan, what's your take?
I got the fishing trawler fired up. We're going to start running guns to the UK. That's all I know.
I mean, that's about all you can do, you know.
I volunteer to lead the landing party to drop them off. I'm in. So,
Jim,
I saw some really egregious police activity.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was sort of the aftermath of this, with just kicking indoors and hauling people off.
You can only get away with in an unarmed society.
Exactly right. And so I'm not being facetious about the fact that, and I think my comment was, well, they tried that here in the 1770s. and hence the Second Amendment. But I mean, I think that's true. So you know, I don't wish any issues on the UK. I have a real fondness for the UK, but they've really made a mess of it in this social experiment that they've been running now for 30 years, 40 years. And the snapback on this is going to be ugly. So I don't know. I mean, it's a daunting challenge to a new government there, who's tends to lean more towards the rights and the interests of the immigrant population. But that said, I'm not sure the conservatives would do a better job, because they've become wholly useless since Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's a little bit like looking in a smaller mirror from the United States perspective. There's not very many people that I have a great deal of confidence in from a political perspective here either. So.
Well, you know, the Reform Party, which just recently got, I think they got more votes than anybody, but they got the third place in seats. You know, they're literally going like, see, this is exactly what we were talking about. I'm curious how long before we see somebody post a live stream of a head of lettuce next to Keir Starmer with the way it's going right now.
They have too big a majority. Yeah, they have too big a majority.
Yeah. The difficulty in the UK now is that you've got Labour in, and Labour came in on we're going to be happy centrists, and what you're seeing is an accelerated takedown of the false centrism pitch that they won everything on, which is kind of what Nigel Farage warned about, which is these guys aren't really centrists. And there was a pretty clear understanding in the UK that they would move hard left for some reason. My guess is this is the way they accelerate the hard left movement. That doesn't really help the people much, but it's a bit sad. It's sad to see, as I like saying, I really like the country and I like the people. But I think Nigel has been fairly prescient, even though so many people in power find him appalling. I think he's been prescient, because he's been standing there watching these people come across from France on a daily basis going, we got a problem here. And everybody in London would scream racism at the top of their lungs. So
as we discussed over the weekend, don't shoot the messenger, assess the message for the truth, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the key challenges in the UK has been that they have this old mechanism of national security internally, given the Irish troubles for so long, that allows government to respond overtly and aggressively to this kind of.
It was pretty well fine-tuned in Hong Kong too.
Yeah, it's everywhere, Stan. But I'm just concerned again by overreaction of labor, and overreaction of I should say, I'm very concerned about the controls, and I'm very concerned about them getting control of the violence, but listening to both sides of this equation. Because in my discussions in the UK with voters prior to the election, they have serious concerns, and their concerns are not unlike ours here in the United States. They're concerned about their children having a life. They're concerned about their children having jobs. They're concerned about their children being able to afford a home. They're concerned about education. They're concerned about the doctor in the village retiring and NHS saying you've got to go 20 miles away to go to a doctor's appointment when they don't have a vehicle. And you've had this really weird migration out of the cities by what the government now would describe as white flight, right? But they've left the city to try to maintain the integrity of their lifestyles. And now the cities are very, very much globalist and very, very much immigrant based. So there are two sides, like the United States. It's the urban population versus the what you guys would have called the trad groups. But we'll see how it all shakes out. And no disparagement meant in the word trad. I actually resemble that. So, I'm hopeful for the UK, but as you guys know, I'm always hopeful here.
Say, boy, I resemble that remark.
Yeah, you do. You do. It's so true. But it's really good to see Joe and Scott sitting on a couch. Was therapy
You
successful?
could have been sitting right here.
No, actually, I could not.
You have to sit in the chair next to us, but
That's true. That's true.
all right. Anything else on the UK thing? This is so depressing. It's so sad to see it happen. This is probably something that didn't need to happen, but you want to play maybe a little video here? Watch.
There's a old Irish folk poem about rifles in the dark, and I'm wondering how many farmers in Northern Ireland are shovels this morning.
Well, and then my little Armite, like the song.
That bounced in my head all the time.
We were talking before the show, and Stan, I think one of the most remarkable things we've seen is Belfast, like the St. George Cross and the flag of Ireland walking down the street, hand in hand. That's not something I did expect to see. So,
I think that's I think that's a litmus test. I think that's how you know it's real, right? The outrage. I mean, and because for that enmity to get buried, the oldest rule in human history, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? And so I just think that's an interesting development in Northern Ireland, and hopefully they can build on that. And Ireland writ large is sort of up in arms against immigration at this particular point. So good on them. It's easier to land. It's easier to land there with a fishing trawler.
And much like what we have here,
Where's this at? Watcher, this.
There's a deficit of trust. It's
So this is
Yes, this is London.
yeah.
So not safe for work chants, but hey,
Catchy.
it's catchy. Well, these are the kind of things that they came up with in the football pitches, or grounds for all the hooligan chants that they would always do. They're notoriously racist in their chanting, so they've got them ready to go.
Yeah, and the problem.
Here's the problem.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jim.
Oh no, the problem is this allows the 1% on each side of this bell curve to go out and do these things. And we've been really lucky here that the right wing has been so civil for so long. What you're seeing in the UK is frustration at curtailing speech on a level that I don't think Americans understand is within the boundaries of the law. They tried to do it here by using Silicon Valley, by using Homeland Security, by quietly stifling speech. In the UK, you're not allowed to go out and speak if they say stop. And we've watched that get overused on what would be described here as moderate right-wingers, who they described as this radical right.
The far right.
Supremacist movement. And yeah, they're going to be crazy ass ultra right people everywhere, just like there are Marxist, socialist, Maoist people burning cities, right?
In the Naval Observatory. Oh, sorry.
No, we've seen that stuff happen here, right? And we've seen them not get arrested, and we've seen them. So this cycle of governments tightly placating their support mechanisms leads to things like Bangladesh. And we don't want to see that here. And I don't think most citizens in the UK want to see that there. But there is a model, and you need to pay attention to all these moving pieces. So I commend you for looking at the UK, and I commend you for looking at Bangladesh in the same discussion, because we should put Bangladesh up against what we're dealing with as well and say, we don't want to go there. And that kind of problem where you have the military have to step up and say we're in charge. That's an announcement of failure. And let's hope we don't see failure in the West, because we've come very, very close in some European countries being subsidized to go through this cathartic thing for too damn many years. And I hope that's coming to an end. And I've got to jump. But what I wanted to also say is, don't forget about the folks in Israel, and don't forget about our folks spread across Syria and Iraq and Jordan and Israel, and other places across the Gulf and in the Arabian Peninsula, because that's not going to look so good this week. And for some reason, they keep pumping more of our young people into that region, and they do it for some reason. It doesn't make a lot of strategic sense to me. I understand why they're preparing for Iran to attack and Hezbollah to attack, but putting people on the ground when we're having trouble moving people around really concerns me. So that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Thanks for being here, Jim. Appreciate you.
Be
I
good.
think too that one of the outgrowths here is when you allegedly allow the freedom of religion in a nation such as England, even though it has an established state religion, when you start giving preferential treatment to one religion over all of the others, and quite frankly, that is what's happening. You create conflict. Religion is very core to the central of a lot of people. And when you double down on that, as we've seen over the last 24 to 48 hours, it doesn't actually tamp down the violence. It actually lights the fuse.
Well, in fact, if I could compare it to something, it's hey, were you ever in school and the teacher had that one kid that they really, really liked, and they sure let the rest of the class know that, boy, did they really, really like that kid. What happened to that kid?
You got beat up.
Got the absolute shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
So
you say it so eloquently.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that I ever saw that.
I saw it over and over again.
I just say,
Yeah.
The others move in the same circle.
I guess not. I guess not.
Teacher's pet doesn't last long.
Yeah. We're going to see more of this. You're going to see it on these shores. I have great respect for Jim's continuously moderating tone and his sort of hopeful travels. But I think he misses how the substrate is changing below that. And we do not agree on the pathway at this particular point. I think the die is cast, and it's just a question of where this is going to happen first and who's going to precipitate it. I don't think it's the far right that's going to precipitate it. I think it's the communists that are trying to take full control of the Democratic Party, and I think they're going to try to do anything and everything to manufacture an outcome of an election that is barely credible. So a bit like Venezuela, and in this last go around, and then from there, you know what the countdown looks like. I've said it over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah, no.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I know.
All right, what's next?
Let's see. Next is we've got the Houthis shot down another one of our Predator drones. Oddly enough, Stan, this is something that you had kind of popped in over the weekend on. I mean, not a surprise at all. We're getting ready to essentially back up Israel in the biggest war in the Middle East that we've seen since the Iraq War, and yet this is a measurement of success, I guess.
Well, I think what it is, it's Einsteinian insanity in that this is something between the 8th and 11th of these that has been shot down over Yemen in the last several months. And each one of them is, I forgot what the number is, 32 million, something like that.
Yeah.
A copy. So I maybe we ought to rethink our tactics, because there's now a parts market that's been set up in Yemen, and you can buy any piece of that you want at this point.
And shot down by men in man dresses. which is something I want to address. They didn't do this organically. They had to have help, and that help probably speaks Russian. So,
now I would just like to bring up.
You know what though, Joe? I will say this. Okay, so it is probably Russian, and yes, Shoigu is in Tehran as we speak. But at least the Russians are open about what they're doing, because
absolutely,
Putin said 8 weeks ago and said, "You want to fuck with me? I'm going to fuck with you, but I'm going to tell you that I'm going to fuck with you because I'm going to give assistance to your enemies, as opposed to wrapping it in some envelope that it's OTAN, well, you know what I'm
Well,
talking
and
about.
he said plainly, "You arm my enemies, I'm going to arm your enemies." I mean, he's not hiding anything.
And man, I'll be honest. I really, really hope he never drops a load of RPKs and PKMs into the Pacific Northwest. That'd be terrible, horrible. If you need a grid coordinate, I will let you know.
So I guess
I'll be the one to bring it up then. What kind of hubris led us to call a system predator and not expect it to become prey?
Well, that's funny.
Well, it's more of a meso predator. Okay, it's not an apex predator. It's just.
But
sorry to interrupt you, Stan.
In all honesty, it's an
older it's fine.
And its known vulnerabilities have been public for a while,
a very long time. Yeah.
Anyway, you were going to say something, Stan. Sorry.
No, I've got to scoot. I've got to get on a conference call here in just a second. But thank you guys for everything you did this
day.
I'm having a busy day. Thank you for everything that you guys did over the weekend. I'm glad you're happy with the way it went. We look forward to doing more. And I'm glad there was some good work, I think, that was done with our friends at Ponderosa to create the basis for doing more. So that's time well spent and effort well spent. So thank you very, very much, and wish you continued success. As you guys are heading out, stop by on the way out here at Shield, and we'll break bread or do whatever you want to do from that perspective. And
I think
now
we're coming by maybe today, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see you then. And there you go. Have a great
one. All right, Stan. You take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Stan just brought it up, and I wanted to mention it. As much as we wanted more people here, and we felt that maybe we didn't get everything we wanted to out of the incident, I met with Al and Linda, the owners of Camp Ponderosa, and the managers of the Northwest Montana Veterans Food Pantry. And they said it's the best event they've ever had at the site, and they were incredibly thrilled, and the most occupancy and the most income generated for their charity. So, Chad, give yourselves a round of applause for helping out the veterans of Northwest Montana. Al was kind of breaking down in tears last night, telling me the stories of camps of homeless veterans out here in the Montana wilderness that won't even let him in after all these years. And let me just tell you, if you're out in these woods, you are in a remote area and your life's in danger just living there.
Mm-hmm.
Even here, we've seen lions and cats and everything come by this camp. And this is a pretty well-established building. And, I'm glad that we were able to help them. And I think it helped me with perspective, because I was kind of kicking myself over some things that I felt didn't go the way that I wanted them to. But for the true end receiver of the event, the needy veterans of Montana, lives were changed, and money flowed into a program to help them. So
yeah.
So thank you all for that. There's also a photo of, I'll dig it out of my phone and send it to Washer. Maybe we'll throw it up there. Linda, who runs the site, was she's been a fantastic lady here, and she had a birthday while we were here. So I arranged a little surprise. We bought her a cake, actually Washer made her a cake, and we bought her some flowers, and it just made her day. She tried to run from us, but us being young, spry men were faster than she was, and we caught her and gave her the cake and stuff. So it was really a great thing this weekend, and we did a great thing for another charity. So Scott has ran away for some odd reason, but that's okay. What's our next odds in that?
Well, let's get into it, shall we? Iran says it must punish Israel and begins clearing airspace. Biden is to hold a situation room meeting.
let's be honest. Biden's not holding anything, right? There may very well be a meeting in the Situation Room.
He
I'm
might
sure-
he might even be propped up in a chair somewhere in a corner, pushed off to the side.
Sorry, Don was outside the window looking like Don, and I was a little worried.
I
I was concerned about that Don may take his shirt off. If you know, you know.
I just noticed that we had one of our panel members walking around outside. Right there he is. So Don will be coming.
It's only because Mrs. Dolio has banned Don from smoking inside this building. That's why he's out there.
So real quick, Scott, I gave him the title. Do you wanna get into the article?
Hold on, which one was it again? Go
And then
back up.
I'm gonna go grab some water.
Iran's about to attack.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. This is right. So Iran says it must punish Israel, begins clearing airspace, and evidently Biden. He's meeting in the Situation Room. So President Biden will convene his national security team in the Situation Room on Monday afternoon, as the U.S. has warned its top Middle Eastern ally, Israel, that an Iranian attack is imminent. Defense chiefs of both countries, Gallant and Austin, are also discussing a series of scenarios and corresponding defensive and offensive capabilities. Biden also plans to speak with Jordan's King Abdullah. The White House has confirmed. Axios has reported Sunday that the message being conveyed abroad by Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, a real star of the team, standout member over
Stan's
there.
favorite person.
Is that while White House doesn't know exactly timing of the attacks, they could start as early as the next 24 to 48 hours, which would mean as soon as Monday. I'll be honest with you, I thought it would happen sooner, but this makes me think that Iran is taking this a little more seriously and trying to line up their capabilities and do final coordinations, which means they're probably outside of Iran as part of the attack. Similarly, a Wall Street Journal was particularly alarming that Iran has Arab diplomats that it didn't care if the response triggered a war when they tried de-escalation and calm. Foreign ministers from Lebanon and Jordan have been in Iran talking officials down from initiating a major attack.
Well, I think that one of the we have to remember is Iran has never been a attacker.
Yeah.
So trying to use logic and saying, "Oh my God, you might do this," Iran's probably the lowest place in the world you would try to apply logic to.
Yeah. It says here, Tehran, in a fresh statement, said its intent is not to escalate, but to punish Israel for the Wednesday killing of Hamas political leader. Iran seeks to establish stability in the region, but it will only come with punishing the aggressor and creating deterrence against the adventurism of the Zionist regime. Now, guys,
Adventurism. That's quite a word.
So here's the thing, right? I expected this attack to happen over the weekend, so I this is why I joke. This is not the apocalypse I was thinking we would wake up to this morning. I fully expect by Wednesday's show that we will be absolutely engaged.
We're doing a little BDA on what happened, right?
Right.
Those a live show. There was just like some live action that happened in the background, and everyone's okay.
There's a tripwire and I missed it.
So I honestly think that this can create one of those perfect storms of a black swan event, right? So in the midst of a financial meltdown, and let me just tell you that an emergency Fed rate cut is not the panacea you think it is. But as that going on, if you had a massive Iranian attack that was actually effective in the middle of that, it's going to make the other problem worse and all the way around.
Yeah, 100%. So we are joined by our wandering Don. Actually, we can pan the camera just so people can see him. There he is right there. He will not be on camera, but the mic will pick him up. Don, I mean, just kind of look at this Israel-Iran thing. You know, we kind of talked about it over the weekend several times, and we kick off by now. What's your take on why it hasn't, and where do you think it's going?
If they kicked by now, and you're totally right, I figured we had some good by now.
Yeah.
If it hasn't kicked off by now, then the plan probably requires something more than what they had on hand. And now they're waiting on a logistics train.
Well, and we know there have been a lot of Iran in the last few hours or last day.
Exactly that. And so, given discussions prior of Russian weapons hitting that area, for those of you who never see military equipment, some assembly required is how it arrives, almost always, even if you're loading it on completely finished. When it gets there, something broke, something needed to be replaced, what have you. I see you. And all of those things are why, in the U.S. military, when you land somewhere, you've got 24 to 36 hours to spin up. And the U.S. military has a system for these things because they've been working with them for the past 100 years. And they translate to new machinery pretty well. So extend your timeline by 72 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I think by Wednesday we will have something more concrete to talk about on this, because the other side of it is you can't wait too long, because then you start looking impudent. And this is the reason why. So one of the things we did talk about over the weekend was the Hezbollah attacks against Israel. And they linked it directly to the death of their military leader up in Syria. But I think that was the kind of like, hey, Hezbollah, shoot a bunch of rockets into Israel while we get our stuff together,
right?
And so we could at least have, the world at least knows that something's happening, and everybody knows how close Iran and Hezbollah are. Yeah. You can't hardly kind of distinguish one from the other at times.
Well, you literally can't, because Hezbollah was founded in Tehran. Right. But I would also expect, just as we alluded to there, that whatever air response or air attack Iran launches in response will be coordinated with ground attacks by both Hamas and Hezbollah. And let's not forget, Iran is equally incensed about the killing of several popular mobilization force leaders and Kataib Hezbollah leaders inside Iraq by U.S. forces. So, and actually the Iraqi government isn't exactly pleased either. So we should expect some sort of an attack on our bases in the region, whether in Syria or Iraq, but also on our shipping, our naval vessels in the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf.
Yeah. And by the way, we had a container ship hit, I think, in the last 24 hours, right off of the, what is it what's that strait of Hormuz?
The one that's just right there by Djibouti?
Yeah.
Al-Mandab Strait.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All
right.
It's really hard when you try to squeeze by Djibouti. You got to follow the curve and go through the narrow gap.
That's right.
Thank you for setting me
I'm
up.
not sharing a couch with Joe.
Thank you for setting me up for a Djibouti joke. And Don's not on camera because based on this weekend's activity, there is a non-0% chance that he just starts going shirtless for the rest of his life. So we're just going to keep him off camera.
Technically true.
But
not likely.
Well, it depends on what the initiation ritual.
The last day before you're allowed to enter the cult is to burn all your church.
So Joel, if you're watching, it was Don that said cult and what's this guy Scott that set it up. I would say a word about your cult.
Joel is in the next room. I'm sure he would be more willing to come in and defend himself. All right. All right, that's it for the odds.
Inside joke. You had to be here.
It's something that's been it's been funny this weekend. That's the great thing about coming here is meeting all the people and let's be honest. I mean, guys like us, we don't do a good job of being super sensitive to other people's feelings. So when there's an obvious thing to kind of poke somebody about, it happens. But everybody thinks it's funny. Even you guys are laughing about it. So, it works.
I mean, only because it's funny.
Joel's the one who brought it up. Once
Exactly.
your neighbors think you're a cult.
Oh, man.
Those words out loud and not expect to hear them forever.
Yeah, it's like never bring up your childhood nickname.
I mean, when a man comes to me and says, my neighbors think we're a cult, and I go to your place, and literally all of you wear no shirts and walk around together. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Exactly. All right. We've ridden that horse a little bit too hard. Let's
not nearly.
Why don't we do a quick improv ad segment?
Well, I was just getting ready to ask Joe what's going to happen on Tactical Dash Wisdom in the coming week.
Probably nothing because I'll be on the road again all week. But I will try to get an article out before I leave, talking about the value of an event like this, where we get to know each other face to face. I mean, we've done stuff with Exumbris Designs before. He's given it for a giveaway, and I've did a collaboration with him. Speaking of Exumbris Designs, that was the sound of someone ripping off an Exumbris Designs belt that he bought this weekend or got this weekend.
One of the other reasons why we don't let Watcher come on camera at these events is because he strips naked in the middle of the show.
I know, he's messing around with his. Never mind. Anyway, but the value of getting together with these people. I mean, I've done lots of stuff with Exumbris. I've never met him. We had a great time with him this weekend. Great dude.
Yeah, we spent several hours after midnight in an inebriated state going over the various problems of the world, solving all those problems, and deciding that we need to do it again. So yeah, absolutely, it was great meeting Eric and other folks out here.
And I'll tell you what, though, there was a high percentage of men walking around in silkies and cargo shorts, but this guy was not one of them.
It was on.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to give that made my cargo shorts look very sensible.
I mean, Exumbris pulls off the silkies with mismatched camo patterns on top, and it's a look, bro. Way to go, Eric.
Yeah. And Eric was able to actually dial that in.
Oh, and whoever it was walking around in the ever stylish Whoopie hoodie.
Oh man,
yeah, man.
You have left your mark. I've been hearing about it for like 2 days.
This was no mere Whoopie hoodie. It was in Rhodesian brushstroke.
Mm-hmm. True.
So I mean, when you're going to go big,
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And so, by the way, there was some. Joe actually has shared some links on. I think it's on Twitter today. Some products that would probably be handy if you're looking at down the barrel of some of the things that we're looking at. When our best allies in the developed world are literally at the brink of collapse and civil war, everybody here sees the problems that are going on in the U.S. Maybe it's time to relook some of your preps. The power is one of the things that you shared that link today about power. Yeah,
a Jackery solar generator power.
These are all things that when it's happening to somebody else and you think it could happen to you in the near future. This is where you give those preps a second look and hey, maybe instead of letting the stock market evaporate all my money, turn it into some tangible stuff that'll be worth a lot, especially in a world where stock markets don't seem to be worth jack shit.
Given my future cult involvement, talk to Joel about herd shares.
Oh yeah, actually,
no,
very much so.
We're not doing that whole thing right now.
Hey, I left it where I left it for a reason.
We don't have time for a Joel 5-minute speech that takes 3 hours.
No. Hold on. This is what I was actually going to say. We found out this weekend that there are a lot of you who are involved that may actually want some space on the show to advertise your personal projects. If you'd like to potentially work in a sponsorship for our show and you are a follower that has product out there, please reach out to me. We'll try and get something set up with you.
Yeah, we've made some good connections for potential sponsorships over this weekend. So looking forward to bringing you guys some quality sponsorship deals that might help you with some of the things that you guys are doing. 2 things,
Hunter, since I know you're watching the chat, your thing about the toes. That's wrong, bro. And number 2, but also right. Number 2, if your situation doesn't work out and you need something, we're here. Let us know. We'll get to you and get you taken care of. All right. But I did find out while we were sitting here, I have the report on the attack that you just alluded to.
Yeah.
Vessel was struck with a missile 174 nautical miles southeast of Aden. It is not on fire. There are no holes in the water line, no water getting in. It's on its way to the next port call. So it made it past Djibouti just fine. And there may have been, according to this report, a premature detonation.
Oh.
Happens around Djibouti all the time.
Yeah. And new holes near Djibouti is never good.
No water getting in.
But no leakage.
No leakage.
That's what's important.
That's true.
Come on, gents. Let's keep it above the waterline.
All right. Black Monday is upon us. The economy has decided, poof, there it goes, right? It's out the window. Futures plummet as VIX. By the way, VIX means the volatility index. It's 62. Japan suffers the worst point drop in history.
It's a apocalypse.
I even like the opening of this article. Good morning and welcome to the global market meltdown, sparked by last week's catastrophic BOJ decision to hike rates by 0.15 basis points, which in turn crushed the $20 trillion a year yen carry trade, which is exactly what Stan was talking about. Sent the yen exploding higher and wiping out trillions in highly leveraged investments, leading to a cascade of selling and forced liquidations, which has resulted in a historic market crash in Japan and a rout everywhere else. In the U.S., futures were sharply lower, with tech plunging as global AI semis trade itself, a byproduct of the carry trade, is sold, and small caps are reshorted. The NASDAQ 100 is set for its biggest opening drop in more than 4 years, as investors brace for days of volatility amidst rising concerns over a slowing U.S. economy and overheated gains in the tech sector. NASDAQ 100 futures fell as much as 6% before pairing losses to about 4.5%. That puts the tech-heavy index on track for the worst opening since the pandemic days of March 2020. And if I remember correctly, there were people claiming that 1,000-point drop has never happened in a single day, though there were other people who said that that's not the case.
Yeah, that's not the case. But I also want to point out that last week, everyone was cheering on the biggest day ever. But they had the biggest day ever once before, and that was around October 1923. And it didn't exactly go well in the days that followed.
No.
So,
Can I interrupt both of you to shill your product? So we talked about this on Saturday night, and I believe is behind the paywall on Locals. And the only way
Not
to
yet. It's not there yet, but it will be
behind the paywall on Locals. And the only way to find out what we were telling you was coming, to be fair, is currently happening, is in fact to join the CFC Locals.
Correct.
Actually, if we could get one of the mods in the chat to that. So we're committing, and not just like me, like, you know, theoretically, Future Conflict channel is mine, right? But it's not really, right? It's a collective effort of all these guys. I couldn't do this without the help of Joe and Watcher and guys like Don that contributes, and Jim. These guys all do amazing work for us. And so what we're going to try to do is we will recommit to the Locals. Joe has really done a bang up job of making his Locals, really a value added space. We had a great start with Gilded, but Gilded is basically,
Fake and Gay.
Closed its doors.
Closed its doors and Fake and Gay, right? So what we'll be doing is we'll be kind of bringing our audience back to Locals, and we will start doing content there. And so that's not just me doing content. That's guys like Watcher doing some content there. Joe has committed that he'll help out from time to time. I'd love to get Don's take on certain things, because I'd love to align your show too over there, because Don, you've got your show coming back on the daily, right? In the morning.
Yeah. I may or may not be back to it before the end of the week. It very much depends on how the 30 hours of driving goes.
Yeah, well, I mean, that can take it out of anybody. So anyway, if you haven't, right there, Stormy's got the link in the chat, futureconflict.locals.com. That will be the place where you'll start to see a lot of content. I'd like to commit to at least weekly content, but it'll probably a week or two before we get to where we want to be. And then we'll have a lot of stuff coming out from this event on Locals. And we've also got some people, some of which may be in the chat, who are going to be helping us out with some YouTube shorts. So we'll be doing a lot more kind of just different stuff with the channel going forward, building towards the event that we'll be doing next year. One of the things that we identified is that we have got to create, leading into an event, you've got to promote it, you've got to create a community around that, but ultimately coming out of the event, like we've done, we've made these personal contacts. We now need to kind of follow through on that.
Yep.
And that's what this commitment to Locals is going to be. So if you, it'll be the virtual get together place. for all of our stuff. And we'll probably be doing a little cross content sharing with the Joe's Locals as well.
And you know, Uncle Bob's Bees had a comment just a few seconds ago that kind of led to a conversation we all had here. It says, when is my version of Rhodesia camo pattern coming out? And ironically, Scott and I discussed this, and I might have put a bug in the ear of Eric over at Exumbus Designs that a modern Rhodesian brushstroke with my own take on it might be in the works.
Might be a thing. All right. Very good. Okay. Let's look at this.
Quick update to this from your father, Scott, before we get into it. It appears as though the losses are currently leveling off.
It's kind of what we figured would happen.
There's also something called the dead cat bounce.
Correct.
So let's give it 12 hours to see if that remains that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing about it is, and something I kind of took away from what Stan said at the beginning of the show, is that, hey, this is bad, but at the same time, this is something that is really not the problems that we have in the U.S., right? This is problems that
People panicking about the rest of the world.
Yeah, about specifically the Japanese thing. But let's be honest, just because the market didn't go down because of all the stupid stuff that's happened in the U.S. doesn't mean the market won't go down because of all the stupid stuff. You know, because when the market goes down, it could have some weird ripple effects. So we could see some of the things in America that are particularly weak pile on, which is kind of what we saw with the mortgage backed security deal back in 2008. I mean, it started in 2007, but then it really hit the fan in 2008.
Too, as you're watching hold on, I'm ready to mill something. As we watch all these numbers coming out, understand that whoever puts out the graph may be trying to bend your thinking in one way or another. So always read the X and Y axis. Sometimes they make the numbers such a small difference that it makes something appear to be plummeting when it's really barely moving. So make sure you're reading these accurately and actually reading what the X and the Y are.
I cannot explain how good of advice that is.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how many times I've been sent a graph that is like, look at this exponential growth, and the whole graph comes 1%.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I just want to say welcome, Sean. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Colonel Chad. Yeah, right. This schedule is a little on the wonky side, but we should be getting back to something approximating a normal schedule. Maybe.
I don't know if you're even going to be available Wednesday, because I think you're going to be in the air.
I think I will be in the air on Wednesday.
And I'll be on the road on my way to visit.
So we may not
in
have
the
a
chat
show on
right
Wednesday, but we may also do something special if Iran decides to blow the world up, and then
you know what? If that does happen, I'll probably be at. That does happen like Wednesday night-ish. I'll be at a certain undisclosed location with a grouchy guy.
That does not narrow down who you might be. Like, you realize that's all your friends.
I mean, it's not wrong. All right. So anyway, let me kind of keep looking at this article. So while both the Nasdaq and Russell futures have paired their largest overnight losses, brace for more waves of selling as the VIX spikes above 62 and forces margin call after margin call. See, that's the kind of thing. It's like when the people who are long on something, and then all of a sudden you had this artificial drop, then what made perfect sense originally when they made the trade all of a sudden dies off, because
allowing purchases on margin is where things went wrong in the beginning, and now it's so heavily leveraged in that. I mean, I can't go to Walmart and say, hey, I want to buy 6 weeks worth of groceries, but I'm going to do it on margin. I'm going to pay you for 10% of the groceries, and you're just going to give them to me. And sometime in the future, I might pay for them, but I might also just give them to somebody else. That's how the stock market literally works. And that's why sometimes when they do a margin call and say, hey, man, I want my $2. Where's my $2?
That's right. That was literally the example of what a margin call is.
Exactly right. It can make things just fall apart when somebody actually wants the money you promised them.
All right. So while U.S. stocks are a bloodbath, nobody had it as bad as Japan, whose benchmark Nikkei 225 index recorded its worst ever daily sell-off. I can imagine there's a lot of self-inflicted murder going on in Japan, probably. losing 4,451 points from previous day's close.
It's a good thing they have a new pacifist constitution, because otherwise they might start a war over it.
Yeah, I just want to correct you there, Scott. The HR department would like you to know that that's the proper internet term for that is committing honorable Sudoku.
That's right.
That's true.
Sudoku.
And amid panic selling triggered by the fears of the possible U.S. I don't know what it's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because you started moving the screen. Yeah. Possible U.S. recession and the yen's length. All right, here we go.
Possible U.S. recession. We've been at the beginnings of a recession for like 4 years. So the U.S. recession.
Yeah.
Remove the extraneous words.
The sell-off was the largest in the history and worse than the Black Monday crash of October '87, when it lost 3,836. The average closed down 12%, 31,400 and some odd points. On a percentage basis, it wasn't much better. With Nikkei's peer, the Topix, tumbling 12%. This is the biggest one-day drop since 1987 and the second worst day since the data begins in 1949. The index is poised for its biggest 3-day drop.
I wonder why the Japanese didn't start keeping records on this until 1949.
Because that's when we let them start doing it.
Let them.
Yeah, it's true though. They had a U.S. military governor until 49, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
All right. I think we probably seen it. Keep going down and see if there's anything else interesting in here before we call it a day on this one. Okay, so back to the U.S. looking at the pre-market. So this article was written several hours ago before the market opened, but all of this is still valid, right? It's a tech route for understandable reasons. Many of the best performing stocks were direct beneficiaries of the leverage afforded by the carry trade. And sure enough, all Mag 7s, I don't know what Mag means, but Mag 7 names are crashing. NVIDIA, Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and Google. It's basically the FANG stocks. I guess they have a new name for them now. And the semis are under pressure. Here are the most notable pre-market movers. So NVIDIA, let's see. Cryptocurrency linked companies tumbled as Bitcoin added a 13% drop. But hey, if you're in a Bitcoin, you know a 13% drop is nothing.
I was just going to say.
Bitcoin bros will do everything to tell you it's not that bad, bro.
No, unfortunately, I've seen it drop.
I get it. I'm
trying to continue to read
every single time.
Of course, Joe's
Your inability to read is not the issue at hand. We're discussing.
Well, that's
Bitcoin
true.
pros are terrible.
We're discussing the Bitcoin rate. Not you guys.
That was the worst since the period when the FTX exchange imploded. The weakness in the digital token comes amid broader sell-off in the global stock markets. Yeah, and Joel actually was in here earlier and made a great point that like when people have their stock portfolios and their Bitcoin, they're going to sell their Bitcoin first before they start selling out their stock portfolios. But based on what we've seen with the market this morning, they're selling everything. Everything is getting hit. So this is agnostic as to what it is, unless there's one stock that's like up 20% today.
Correct. It's weird. They just seem to be unstoppable. And who do you suspect that could be?
Is it Raytheon or Northrop?
Neither.
Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, Lockheed Martin.
I got them. Yeah. With the summer low liquidity, there's still heavy trend playing. Unwind the VIX sky high. This sell-off could go on for days.
Everyone keeps talking about which coin is going to go to the moon. It's actually the VIX that's going to go to the moon.
Yeah, lock coin. Key point is the current shift in narrative from no landing to soft landing. The risk was poorly priced, and the investors shifting gears. Fast explains the extent of the move. So, I think we're going to see a bad week in the markets, but I think we are going to see much less, negative volatility, and we'll probably see creeping up towards, maybe a 50% recovery of the losses. by the end of the week.
But I think the biggest piece of that is a question that I raised earlier. How much of that is artificial? We stop the stock market now when it starts to fall, and it's supposed to be a free market, but we really don't have one. Once it falls a certain number, we halt all trading. And this is one of the dangers of AI. The first trading we stop is automated trading because of that very reason. But if we reduce a interest rate that's actually going to create more volatility, all these measures we take might make it look better on paper, but they don't deal with the underlying problem that's causing the issue. And then flipping the switch back on the money printer once they figure out what's wrong with it, because apparently it's broken this morning. If they turn back on the money printer, that just pushes it down another couple of weeks. It doesn't actually solve the underlying issue.
Yeah, it's very much like putting tension in a spring.
Yeah.
I'm holding this down, I'm holding this down, I'm holding this down. I'll let go eventually.
Yeah.
And when they do, that thing is...
That's when you lose your detent spring for your buffer.
There it is.
All right. So, and I have no idea what the what the Fed's going to do on interest rates. I could see how panic from their bosses might cause them to drop it a little bit. But ultimately, I don't think that's going to do much good.
It will do a lot of bad.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on to our next one. I think we've got some. Yeah. Okay. So we've got Trump's take on this. Trump's always entertaining. So let's see what he has put out on Truth Social. Japan down 12%. India down 6%. Don't you have a good Trump impersonation? Don't you?
Oh yeah. Tilted. You're fine.
He's no NC Scout, but he'll get us there.
Bad morning for this. So it's terrible. I blame you. Japan down 12%. India way down also. US really bad. This is a preview of the world markets without Donald J. Trump in the White House. Now, and look at what's happening. 1 week of the fake media saying better polls, and you get a market crash. The legendary Howard Lutnick.
Oh my goodness!
Oh boy!
Yeah, well, very good.
All right.
We got applause from our live studio audience of McCullough the senior.
Yes,
That's true.
Yeah, plenty of the other. I like this.
Yeah. So I mean, let's be honest. He's not wrong. I mean, we like to call this the Kamala crash, right? If we can blame it and pin it on her, then we should do so. But in reality,
He really blew it.
this is really the Obama the third administration's crash. So.
Yeah, this is quite frankly Obama's crash. That's actually a better take, I think.
So this is a tweet that Stan shared with us earlier this morning.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, the Kobeisi letter says, breaking, it's now been 1.5 hours since the market opened, and users at Schwab, Vanguard, Fidelity, Ameritrade, and eTrade are still unable to access their accounts. So the worst thing to happen when you have high volatility is the inability to trade on that volatility. Volatility makes a lot of money for people, but essentially all the day traders are now screwed. Frozen out of their accounts. And never mind that Robinhood has said that they're going to freeze trading for 24 hours.
So I wasn't here for the covering of the earlier part of this. Have we discussed why?
Well, go ahead and mention it.
So a lot. If you let the day traders trade when the market is imploding, they drive the implosion at double,
Correct.
Right?
If not triple, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're the Feds and you're looking at this and you're like, hey man, it's really bad PR when the stock market explodes, the first thing you do is shut the day traders up, because it's the only hope you have of everything not going completely out the window in 24 hours or less.
Because your day traders are the guys that are going to say, "Oh, Nvidia's down. I could get a discount on Nvidia."
Yeah.
Essentially,
Well, here's the other side of this too. it's not just the day traders that are a problem. The algorithmic traders
Same problem.
are well
Way
kind
faster.
way faster, but also they drive each other's cycles because they're each watching what each other's algorithms are doing, and so this is how you get flash crashes.
But I'm pretty sure they already shut down automated trading. On a volatile day like this, you would immediately that would be the first
circuit breaker.
The first circuit breaker you trip is no automated trading. So the other thing too is that when people look at this and think, oh, does this mean cyber attack? The red just means inability to get on. The website is down. It doesn't matter for what. When we did our show on Fat Tails and the Taiwan Strait, we mentioned that an attack on the trading clearinghouse would cause instant economic chaos, but it doesn't have to be an attack. It can be just this: everyone trying to log on at once. Brings the system down to a point where trading can't happen, artificially making the problem 10 times worse.
So, do you know what the most common denial of service attack was in like the late 90s, early 2000s? More of your own users logging on than you expected.
Yes.
Don't trust stockbroker. Stockbroker is asshole.
Yeah.
In point of fact, it's Robin Hood.
Is the asshole right there.
Let's go down and see what they had a response.
Oops. What's the next one?
Yeah. It says here, Charles, this is their response to their own tweet here. Charles Schwab just put out a message saying that they're trying to resolve the issue as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, markets have already made massive moves in both directions.
Yeah. How do you solve that problem? John, here's the credit card. Run over to Best Buy and buy me 2 new servers. And we're going to try to rewire in live time.
Yeah.
There's no quick fix to this.
But he's right here. Retail investors need a voice. Let's click on the and see what else they've been talking about here. These guys.
Okay, I just want to point out something real quick. David Jowers says, "If you're telling me having a private stockbroker was smart yet again, yes, always. That is, I will literally tell anyone who will listen that do not use public stockbrokers.
Washer being one of the biggest investors in the country and is highly successful at his trades.
No, but having a lot of friends who are, there's a lot of benefits to that.
All right, so let's go down and see what they've been talking about here. Pass that one. Let's see what the most recent one. It's 4 hours ago. 1 hour. Here we go. Let's see. Just in poly markets, prediction markets are now showing that recession odds in the U.S. have nearly doubled overnight to 26%. That's right in line with Goldman Sachs' 25% chance. Yeah, this is something that had come out at the end of last week. It was Goldman Sachs. This is just one of those things that we didn't talk about, but was news over the weekend.
But again, hold on. I'm going to say this. I keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying it until you remember it. We're playing with language here.
Yeah.
Prior to Joe Biden's election, a recession was defined as 2 consecutive quarters with negative GDP growth. We're on like 37 consecutive quarters.
And the only reason why it doesn't appear that way is because, as we've said,
they're playing with the numbers.
They're cooking the books. All right. Prediction markets have proven a highly accurate source of information. We are tracking many more market moving events.
You know what the best news of the day out of all of this is, though? The Taliban did get their $239 million check from us this week.
Well, it's important that we're paying the top line bills that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, we ought to pay off the guys who killed our people as we tried to leave.
Yeah. So I'm going to also credit Stan for bringing this next thing to our attention. This is pretty good. Last week, Biden claimed, "I cured the economy." This week, the economy crashed. It's the Kamala crash with a K.
Oh, give me just a second, chat. I have to reshare it with sound so you guys can hear the video when I play it. There we go. And
Mr. President, please, with your legacy
I cured the economy.
Oh boy!
Well, thank God he cured the economy.
We're going to call him Joe Kramer Biden.
Yeah, no kidding.
So weirdly, like if I have cancer and I get shot in the head, I am in some ways
cured,
right?
I'm not going to die from cancer now.
There you have it.
Your cancer is dead as disco.
Keeping your cancer analogy, right? When you cure the cancer, what do? You remove it.
Well, right.
You get rid of it. So I guess to be fair, he kind of told the truth. He cured the economy.
The best cure
Shotgun
for it is to
surgery.
crash it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. All right.
What's next?
Anything else on the economy? I don't think so. We're gonna move on
Yeah,
over to
again. I'll
Bangladesh.
just say this: don't assume that just because you see some better numbers this afternoon that it's over. Right? You're going to need to see a 7-day spread.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I got one last thing. I'm advising all my clients to put everything into canned food and shotguns.
Well, that's actually not inaccurate. In fact, the best investor I know is literally making a big investment in such things. So, anyway,
Yes.
but we can't talk about that.
Our next story here we'll be talking about today, story number 2, is the Bangladeshi Prime Minister.
Stormy wants to tell us we have had some rumble rants that we've missed.
Oh, shoot. Okay, let me go over Rumble and get those.
Thank you, Stormy.
Thank you, Stormy. Oh, yeah. Wow, we've got a couple. So, $20 from Rev Hazmat. Here is to the next Shield Field days as I sit in their parking lot eating their food. Make sure to make the next event. Hell yeah, that's exactly correct. Get some scalded coffee while you're at it.
Yeah, those burgers at the Scald Coffee trailer were.
Well, I just finished a scalded coffee breakfast burrito that I was unable to finish 2 days ago.
I'm telling you, that chorizo burrito is massive and delicious.
Correct.
Yes.
For $5 said, working alone, I get to listen to many shows from Raven 23, Prince, O'Neill, Gallagher, Rogan, Ryan, Congress. Vets are all publicly mentioning that this administration is crazy. Something big is coming.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. If you had a chance to get to somewhere like Montana, I would do it.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
If you got nothing else to do.
if you live in the urban area, now's a good time to seek.
I mean,
greener pastures.
Even perpetually optimistic Mike Shelby said that the other day, right? If you can get somewhere other than a blue area, now is the time to move because you might not have the option later. I'm going home to pack and then I'll be back.
Yeah,
Literally.
Literally.
What else? Okay. So essentially, the government of Bangladesh imploded overnight. The Bangladeshi PM Sheikh Hasina resigns as widening unrest sees protesters storm her official residence. And so we have seen these videos before, but just in
Very similar to the Sri Lanka
stuff.
Yeah.
Where they occupied the. What is it? The Congress or whatever, the legislature, and they, eating and showing off the luxury of the presidential palace. Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to probably start becoming a meme in the future. All right, if you can scroll down, and I'll. Let's see. Bangladesh's prime minister resigned.
My wheels got an issue.
Resigned and fled the country Monday after weeks of protest against quota systems for government jobs descended into violence and grew into a broader challenge to her 15-year rule. Thousands of demonstrators stormed her official residence and other buildings associated with the party and family. You can use your arrow keys.
Yeah, I'm just going to do this instead now.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's highly technical. Okay, so her departure threatens to create even more instability in the densely populated nation on India's border, already dealing with a series of crises from high unemployment and corruption to climate change. Of course, climate change. Security concern. I think it's just the climate there sucks. I mean, if I'm honest, don't they get like flooding every year? But
Yes.
that goes back to the 70s,
Yeah,
60s. Amid security concerns, the main airport in Dhaka, the capital, has been suspended operations after the embattled leader was seen on TV boarding a military helicopter. By the way, we've got that video somewhere on Twitter.
Okay.
After the embattled leader was seen boarding a military helicopter with her sister, the country military chief, General Waker Uzzaman, sought to reassure a jittery nation that order would be restored. He said he met with opposition politicians and civil society leaders and would seek the president's guidance in forming an interim government. He promised the military would launch an investigation into the deadly crackdown on student-led protests that led to some of the country's worst bloodshed since 1971, War of Independence that fueled outrage against the government. He added that he ordered security forces not to fire on crowds. See, here's my thing, right? There's two things that concern me about Bangladesh. Now, if you do me a favor, can you fact check this? But I think the population of Bangladesh is almost 200 million people.
I will.
And when you have a big country with a lot of people who are very poor and have all these kind of societal pressures, something I talked about yesterday. And then, oh, by the way, what's the majority religion in Bangladesh?
The same one it is.
Well, it's got to be the same one. Oh no, it's not. It's the same one as Pakistan, right? These are kind of like the two. Oh, Muslim ears on the face of India, right? You basically got. I probably could get in trouble for saying that.
91.04% Islam.
And how many people do they have?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was somebody you asked for. Where'd it go? Demonims, Bangladeshi population 169 million.
Yeah, so
I was largest in the world.
I wasn't too far off. 100. So
that's density. That's density, isn't it? No, that's population.
And it is very dense. That's the reason why they always have so many deaths and the flooding and things like that, because the highly dense areas where people live are in floodplains. Go figure.
Well, Bangladesh was part of Pakistan. So originally Pakistan was called Muslim India, right?
Right.
And then in a war, Bangladesh split off from Pakistan.
So here we go. Here's the video of her kind of the old MI8. How many world leaders have
MI17?
MI17. Same difference.
Yeah, 6 to 1, half dozen the other. But yeah, how many world leaders have fled in a formerly Russian helicopter, right? A hip or a hop, right?
Right. I think it's ramp versus clamshell, right? That's the difference.
Yes, ramp versus clamshell.
And that's the ramp one. All right. Yeah, don't let Ron hear that I confused it.
Yeah,
we would definitely.
Ron, I'll correct him.
Yeah, 174. Yeah. So that was close. Anyway, point is that when the Muslim countries with that many have a situation, that gives you the opportunity for bad actors to
Whoa, yeah, hold up. Let me
So
go back.
Stormy's tired of me talking, and she wants me to read.
She ain't the only one.
I sent a Rumble rant earlier, but I don't see it now. I just wanted to say congrats on another great event, and thank you all for the hard work of the council, hosts, and guests who contributed to, and the fans who made it. Yeah, absolutely. The fans really are what made this thing. Next year we can get an even bigger turnout. The one of the things that we identified was that the date change at the last minute really didn't help a lot of you guys. I know I had several people contact me and say, hey, because of the date change, I'm not going to be able to make it. But good luck with the event. So what we're going to have a date come out probably in the next month, and basically put the thing in the pin on the calendar, and that way you guys can make plans to come out. Price will be the same type of. Essentially, it'll be a better planned, better executed, better everything version of the same event. So pricing will probably be about the same. Well, unless the economy goes crazy, and then we'll make you pay in gold.
Gold. Well, we will accept ammunition as well.
Ammo. Right.
It'll be the same price in 2024 inflation adjusted numbers.
Yes, 2024 adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny about the whole event, and I'm glad Stormy brought it up again. They're going to bring us back to it. Is we're just a bunch of regular guys. None of us feel like we're anything special. And we sit around at night having a chat. Like we watch Sharp's.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
Sharp's on.
But like last night, we sat around just a bunch of guys watching Sharp's Honor, just watching a movie, hanging out. But everywhere I go, we find locals who are fans of the show. And, you might think that's not that uncommon if we're talking about urban areas or anything, but we're talking about Kalispell and Big Fork, Montana, which are not large places. And we had dozens of folks come up and say, I'm so glad you guys came here because I've been a fan since the beginning of the show. And whatever, we met a really great couple from Missoula. You guys know who you are. You promised to help me move. I don't think I forgot. Who are just fantastic people and been fans and in this area. So I just feel like it's neat no matter where we go in the country. We meet locals who watch the show, and it kind of says that maybe we're doing something right here. Maybe we're saying the right things, getting out the right information. So
yeah, Rob said just got back from a service. Of course, you started the show. I was going, sorry.
Yeah, Rob, I didn't check my texts. I didn't get a message from you telling me to hold off.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? I mean, with us being all in person, it kind of threw a wrench into the regular schedule. We will be back on the regular schedule at
Friday the latest.
Friday, yeah. Maybe we'll do something Wednesday. Probably I won't do something Wednesday because I will be in the air.
Yeah.
But
hey, Androdite, but Montana is larger than most nations on the planet. No, we did not go to Pony, Montana.
I wanted to do anything but be in the car.
Driving through Montana?
Right.
So like going corner to corner in Montana is about 11 or 12 hours. I mean, it is a massive state.
Even going up the street to the store is like a 30, 40 minute drive. I mean, good Lord.
Don't say that. Mrs. Dolio might be watching. It's just around the corner. It's okay.
I'm hyperbole, right? All right, so let's
yeah, there are high speed limits. That is
true.
Let's check out. So here we go. This is Vice Grad 24. More and more videos coming out of Bangladesh showing
Attacks. Come on, you dumb thing.
showing local Islamists taking advantage of the chaos in the country to attack homes of the Hindu community. Now, here's the thing, right? I've seen no indications that this whole mess was caused by Islamists. But that being said, it's exactly when you get some sort of friction or the opportunists will always step in and make hay while the sun is out.
Well, just because one Islamist was overthrown, that doesn't mean in a country with a 91% rate of Islam that it's not another Islamist who took over.
Right.
Maybe a more hardline person, and these people feel emboldened to go out and attack members of the Hindu community. So the Hindus are the second largest religious population in the country at about 7%. So there's not a lot of them, and they might feel it's necessary to eliminate them. I'm not trying to go make this a religious thing, but everywhere where you see an Islamist regime take over, a hardline one, this happens. All these kind of things going on. So it's a real. My fine research partner, Mr. Bob McCullough, just showed me a statistic that says that over the last couple of years, Bangladesh has surpassed both India and Pakistan in per capita income. So there's a lot of money flowing around in the country as well.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they do have some petroleum reserves or something. I don't know. They have.
You also have to keep in mind too, like how the average Indian and Pakistani lives. In America and Bangladeshi, in America, we tend to think that the rest of the world is like us. But in places like India and Pakistan, once you leave the big city, the majority of the population lives in mud huts and works a farm and doesn't make any money whatsoever. So saying you have the highest per capita income in a really bad neighborhood doesn't necessarily make you rich.
That outside of cities is only in that area of the world is where almost all of the people remaining who live on less than $2 a day exist.
Yes.
So
80% of the world still uses open toilets, right?
Right.
Not plumbing. So
whatever you think poor means, adjusted for living on less than $2 a day.
Right.
So this is one of Don's supporters protesting the hair on the statue, trying to make it look more like Don, move it around to the chin. So
you're joining the right cult for that, Don.
I'm just saying though, if he does succeed, then suddenly Colonel Sanders becomes a founding member of their government.
Yeah, that's right. He does bear a striking resemblance to Colonel Sanders. I don't know what KFC did to this place, but
they're not happy with that chicken.
Look at their ingenuity, though. They climbed up to his arm and then climbed his arm. That is not a show of proof.
No.
So this last one we saw is protesters that broke into the
presidential
palace
and are eating a KFC.
Not a found it. We figured it out, boys.
Ah, yes. I mean, look at that catered food from yesterday. It was probably very healthy.
I haven't seen this one yet.
This is the Islamists that are attacking Hindus.
So this is 2 minutes. I'm going to give you guys some audio for this one.
Note all the security
Yeah.
conditions.
Open the door and find out.
Anything against it. Both doors. Why do I need a 30-round magazine right here in one short video? Nobody needs a 30-round magazine.
Yeah, this is
You know, it's probably the best weapon in this particular circumstance. Close quarters, multiple people in a small opening. Shotgun with a bayonet.
obviously.
MP5 with the drum.
This is where the what is this, the Saiga 12 comes in,
Oh yeah.
with the 35 round drum magazine and what a little.
Also, I'm just saying,
Number 4.
lady, like a dog wouldn't hurt in this scenario either.
Right. All right, what's next? Distressed foreign lady noise.
Whoa,
Very good.
Ammo is currency.
Yeah, $10 ammo is currency. Somebody say ammo is currency.
Yeah,
I've heard this rumor.
ammo will be accepted for your attendance next year. So just keep that in mind.
I think that's all we got today for notes, gents.
All right. So a little bit of a shorter show today. We got some stuff to do here in the real world, so we're gonna be kind of moving on to our next rendezvous with Destiny here in Montana. Tomorrow I'll be getting back.
Oh, let me answer this question in the chat though, real quick. Penn State people, Russia and China has sent or hired mercs to protect Maduro. Is this true? Well, there were already Russian troops in the region,
And Cuba sent special
Cuba
forces.
sent special forces, and there's IRGC troops in the region for a drill that happened to coincide with the election. What a shocker! So yeah, that's possibly true, but in this case, I would believe Russia more so than China. So
All right. Like I said, it's a shorter show today, so we'll be going and cutting it here. So here's the thing, right? If I could put a bottom line on the Bangladesh story, this story based on everything in the world will probably fall off of our radar for the rest of the week. We anticipate a lot coming from the Iran-Israel thing. That being said, never underestimate the problems that can come out of a Islamic country with 170 million pissed off Muslims. That is the breeding ground for places like Al Qaeda and every other Salafist asshole who wants to get a bunch of new followers. I mean, look at the Philippines. The relatively small population of Muslims that live in the Philippines have been successfully radicalized by people who have nothing to do with the Philippines.
well, it's probably shockingly surprising to find that that minority of Muslims is directly adjacent to Indonesia, the largest Muslim population in the world. So I'm sure it's a coincidence.
Which has actually been very successful in fighting back against Salafist and Islamist organizations.
By control of the news, because the Salafists are still burning churches in Indonesia.
Right. Well, the irony is they're almost doing the exact opposite of the Saudis. They're not using radical.
Right.
They're using moderate voices as a control mechanism. So, All right, that's all I got. Let's go around the horn real quick. Joe, looking at the week. I mean, clearly outside of Iran, Iraq, we know that. I mean, Iraq too. Iran, Israel. What do you think?
I think that that I would see some more Russian moves. Russia has got to respond to the sudden appearance of 28 headers in the Ukrainian theater of operations, with our bold statement from NATO saying, "Yeah, well, we're going to base them in Poland and Romania just so you can't get at them." That is a direct challenge. And actually, if you were to strictly interpret Geneva and Hague, that makes Romania and Poland a party to the war. It makes them a co-belligerent with Ukraine. And that opens them up to legal strikes from the other side. So I would really watch that. Someone's going to have to do something about those fighter jets, and that's going to happen.
Don? Didn't even put you on video for this.
Oh yeah, thanks, buddy.
Hey, that library over there has my books in it.
It does. It's been a long-standing meme of the show that any time that I take a break from the internet, do travel things, something ridiculously large happens.
Yes.
So no later than tomorrow, I'm going to climb into a truck for 30 hours. So World War III might happen.
Yeah, right.
Very, very true. Watcher?
Think very carefully about the things which are important to you and why they are important, and do what you can as immediately as possible to secure those things.
Profound. Watcher.
All right.
Been hanging out with you too long.
I know, right?
I'm gonna say
the
thing to watch while we watch the Middle East explode throughout the next week will be pay attention to what's happening in England. The UK going up in flames is almost a good thing, I think, in a lot of ways, because it's forcing them to deal with a problem that they have basically just pushed too far, too fast. I think you could potentially see vote of no confidence come out of this. It might be the one thing that gets the Reform and the Tories on the same side, though the Tories are still going to be worthless. So I honestly think that you're going to see an event occur where 15, 16, 20, 30 people are going to be killed. Because I mean, we've already seen these people in the streets with machetes. All it takes is the police to be in the wrong area, and 5 pissed off Muslim guys run into a crowd of counter protesters, and it's on. And oh, by the way, there are more military-age male non-English people in the streets than there are Englishmen. So if any Englishmen are listening to this, think about that, guys. Think about that. All right. Hunter says, I see Scott has joined the Nuke UK position.
Shield Arms has a motto that appears on the back of a lot of their shirts, and it's in Latin, but it says, always be armed.
Yeah.
It's not bad advice. It's not bad.
Not bad advice at all. All right, guys, that's all we've got for today. Looking forward to, Hunch comes in at the end. And by the way, did we get the super chats on Rumble?
We did.
Okay.
Oh, this is actually a good super chat.
Who was a new one?
Hey, Chad, did you know Scott's dad is the godfather of modern bourbon production? Now you do.
And that's actually literally the truth.
Right.
I mean,
quite frankly, not the truth.
I don't know, man. What are you arguing with there?
I mean, you guys know I love Kentucky bourbon. I mean,
and your dad installed like 2/3 of all the distilling columns that make.
He sat at a computer or something like that in an okay.
Everybody
design.
respects your dad more than you do.
You
Listen, if you've had Kentucky bourbon in the last 20 years, Scott's dad was involved in
You
its
can
production
thank him
in some
McCullough.
way. Yeah, you can thank him McCullough.
There you go. All right. Fair enough.
He's
All
going to
right.
lead a bourbon tour for us in the spring, so we have a good time.
Thank you guys very much.
Wait a minute. Is that true?
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah,
there.
me and Mike Shelby.
We'll get
So,
there.
oh, no.
we could turn
And
this
me.
into an event.
All right.
I won't be there, but you can meet the McCullough everybody likes better than me. So.
Now, that is true. He went on a ruck with me yesterday, and he went on a ruck with me the day before.
Yeah,
and you did not. So I'm just putting that out there.
fair. That's fair. All right, that's all we have to say. No more of this sucking up to my father business.
It's okay, Scott. We love you too, just less.
Hey, you know what? You know who does get a shout out for this whole week? Watcher and Mrs. Watcher, because they went to the trouble. Scott had made a commitment last year that there would always be Derby pie.
Yeah.
And last night
They made Derby pie. That's right.
in conjunction with some technical expertise provided by Bob McCullough, the Watcher family made some pretty darn good Derby pie that was enjoyed by all.
And while the hot Derby pie was good, I think we have solved the question that yes, next day Derby pie is better than fresh Derby pie. If
That's
that,
just because Scott had Derby pie.
I had this for breakfast this morning. It was wonderful. So yes, Derby pie. If you can find it, get it. All right. So South Korean camera makes him look 30 years younger. Yeah. No. You see, the problem is this crappy camera on Joe's makes just doesn't make me look as good. The other one is a much better quality camera. You can actually see what I look like.
This is a terrible time for this because now on camera you're sitting next to me. So
Well,
it's not just Joe; it's any other person you share a frame with.
I will say in person, I was mistaken for Joe's son. So I mean,
By a 60-year-old woman who's trying to pick you up at the Cracker Barrel. That's not exactly.
Wait a
good.
second. That was two different 60-year-old women within 24 hours.
Both of which were 60-year-olds trying to pick you up.
And on that bombshell.
On that bombshell, it's turned in. All right. So if you haven't done already, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, hit the notifications, share it out with your friends. Next year's, if you were here, great. If you couldn't make it, we understand. Next year's going to be better, and you have a lot of time to, get ready for it. So for all the guys here in person, for Jim and Stan who were able to make it remotely, thank you very much. And as always, stay safe.
60. Yeah, he handled it. Oh, we're still live.
Yeah.
I pressed the